If you're drowning in fabric but can't seem to stop buying more, these 5 simple rules will transform your relationship with your stash. You'll learn exactly how to curb impulse purchases and actually use what you already have, saving money and reducing that creeping guilt about unused fabric. Don't worry, this isn't about depriving yourself of beautiful textiles, but creating a system where buying and sewing stay in balance. Implement a one-in, one-out policy. This first rule creates a natural ceiling for your stash size. Before bringing new fabric home, commit to using or removing an equivalent amount from your existing collection. Here's how I make this work. I keep a next to sew box near my machine. Each time I buy new fabric, I immediately select something from my stash to add to this priority box. It creates a visual reminder of my commitment and ensures I'm actually sewing through my collection. This doesn't mean you have to finish a project before buying new fabric, just that you're mindful of the balance. Maybe you commit to cutting out a project from your stash before purchasing something new. See, the psychology behind fabric hoarding is kind of complex. Beautiful textiles speak to us on a visceral level. The colors, textures, and patterns create endless possibilities in our minds. Each piece represents not just material, but potential. Creating boundaries around fabric shopping isn't about punishment, but aligning your purchases with your actual sewing practice. This one-in, one-out rule helps transform fabric from a collectible item into what it's meant to be, a material for creative expression. By the way, I've instituted the same policy for my closet to help me get to an 80% handmade wardrobe. Every time I make a new project, I donate or sell something I already have. I found it a really simple, useful way to stop accumulating way more than I need. Create a project-based shopping list. Shopping with intention completely transforms your fabric buying habits. I only purchase fabric for specific planned projects now, and it's changed everything. I create a detailed list of upcoming makes, including yardage and fabric type for each project. When I encounter a beautiful fabric without a plan, I ask myself, what would I make with this right now? If I can't answer immediately, it stays at the store. Each season, I plan a queue of projects using the Design Your Wardrobe process. I design my projects as a collection and create a palette of fabrics to sew with. I always shop my stash first, then buy anything specific I need for upcoming projects. When I'm done, I have an exact palette for the season and only make new purchases if I have a specific project planned. If you're interested in trying this process out for yourself, the summer session of Design Your Wardrobe is open for signups right now. You can join us and build out your own sewing queue and fabric palette for the next season. Or you can also see what I've made through the process right here on the channel, since I always share my final sewing plans and then what I make at the end of each season. I really love to take a project-based approach to shopping for fabric. It's so easy to fall into the trap of getting an immediate high from shopping, because it doesn't require the time and energy of actually sewing. It's the promise of future creativity without the work. Plus, sales, limited editions, and the fear of missing out drive us to purchase just in case we need it someday. I think having a concrete plan helps break that cycle. Institute a cooling off period. For non-urgent purchases, I give myself a 48-hour waiting period. I take a photo of the fabric and its details, and then I walk away. If I'm still thinking about it 2 days later and I can envision a clear purpose for it, then I'll consider going back. I can't tell you how many must-have fabrics completely lost their appeal after this cooling off period. What seemed irresistible in the store often doesn't actually inspire me days later, and I've saved myself from countless impulse purchases this way. This simple pause helps distinguish between momentary impulses and genuine creative needs. I've found the fabrics I return for are typically the ones that truly belong in my collection. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this rule. If I'm at a flea market and I see the perfect vintage fabric, or if I'm traveling and fabric is my souvenir from the trip, sure, I'll bend this rule. But that's where rules 1 and 2 provide a little safety net. If I absolutely must have it, it's time to think about exactly how I'll use it and make a plan for it, rather than let it languish in my stash for years and years. That's the thing. We often develop sentimental attachments to our fabric. That silk from your trip to Japan, or the cotton print that reminds you of your grandmother's kitchen curtains. These fabrics tell stories and hold memories. I like to think that I'm honoring those memories by actually using the fabric, not depriving myself. Schedule regular shop your stash sessions. Set aside time monthly to reorganize and rediscover what you already own. I pull everything out, fold it neatly, and group fabrics by type or project potential. This process often uncovers forgotten treasures and sparks new project ideas. During these sessions, I create fabric bundles that go well together or match patterns with fabrics. I take photos of these pairings and upload them to a Pinterest board for future seasons of sewing. When it's time to plan my next queue of projects, I look through these boards first. This practice has completely changed how I view my stash. Instead of seeing a chaotic pile, I see carefully curated possibilities. The fabrics I already own become exciting again. Without clear limits, it's easy for fabric buying to become disconnected from sewing itself, which can lead to overwhelm, guilt, and financial strain. These regular shop your stash sessions reconnect you with what you already have, making your existing collection feel fresh and inspiring again. Track your actual sewing rate. This rule requires requires brutal honesty. How much do you actually sew in a given time period? If you complete one garment per month, like I did when I started tracking, you realistically need no more than 12 garment lengths of fabric in your stash at any time, plus perhaps a small buffer. I even created a simple spreadsheet tracking fabric in versus projects completed. The data provided a serious reality check when I was tempted to add just one more piece to my collection. You can even calculate your own years of stash number, estimate how many yards you have, divide by how many yards you use annually, and prepare for a potential wake-up call. When I first did this, I realized I had enough fabric to last me 5 years at my current sewing pace. This awareness completely shifted my perspective on what constituted a reasonable amount of fabric to own. Setting this boundary helps transform your mindset from collector to creator. When your stash becomes manageable, you'll find renewed inspiration and excitement for your projects because you're surrounded by materials you truly love and can actually use, rather than an overwhelming mountain of possibilities. Create a fabric-first inspiration system. Rather than starting with patterns and then buying fabric, I've reversed my approach. I begin regular sewing sessions by auditioning fabrics from my stash. I'll pull out 3 pieces that call to me, then find patterns that would work well with them. I pin these fabric pattern matches to an inspiration board where I see them daily. This keeps my existing materials front of mind and builds some excitement for using what I already have. This system works particularly well for those special fabrics you've been saving for the perfect project. By focusing on the fabric first, you're more likely to finally cut into those precious pieces. That's also why building a palette comes before designing your exact projects in the design your wardrobe process. Again, if you're interested in checking that out, there's a link in the description below. And remember, the goal isn't to stop buying fabric altogether. It's to create a healthier relationship with your materials where purchasing and using remain in balance. When you sew with intention and buy with purpose, your fabric collection becomes a source of joy rather than anxiety. And if you finally got your fabric purchasing under control and now need to figure out what to do with all that fabric you already own, watch this video next to discover 5 genius ideas for organizing your fabric stash that'll transform your sewing space.